How's it going?
Silence as a
You
feels like it's
just hear people, dude. I'm listening to people talk. I'm like, this is so fucking brain dead. And I'm like, you know what? Who's to say that silence isn't better than speaking? You know?
yeah.
Like, if you want to say something, put it in the comment section on the bottom right hand corner. Maybe go to the nest. Your explanation's probably wrong, so let's just leave that out of it.
Yeah.
You know,
Hmm.
give me the API, give me the app, and I'll figure it out for myself.
Yeah. And
What play today?
you were into such a business call today?
Hmm. I'm noticing a theme, right? Where we're kind of going through the same motions every day. You know, we have a discussion, go somewhere, decentralization versus centralization, and the regulation of AI, and NFTs, the plans of Elon Musk, electrification, trains derailing,
Mhm.
what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there are all of these things that are completely out of our control, but people talk as if they have their finger on the button,
Yeah. As if they
and then
can
they get
change.
really riled up. Yeah, and then they start telling you their political machinations, right? Be like, okay, what we need to do is set up the government like this, and I'm like, man, we can't even manage a group chat. You think you can manage resources, right? And so it's like, I guess, Allie looked over to me yesterday, and she says, "What? Why the fuck are you listening to this?" That's what she said to me. She's like, "What the hell are you listening to?" I'm like, "I know, right?" She's like, "I don't understand why you do this." And it really made me think. It's like, why are we really doing this?
Does it
Because
have
things
any
are
entertainment value?
well. Does it have entertainment value? But is it the equivalent of a man riding on a donkey to achieve fame, like you said? Right, right. We can have fights. We change the title. We call it ordinals versus Ethereum. We go through the whole fight thing. People start talking about politics and regulation, and other people start talking about transhumanism. And it's like, it's almost like you have this Twitter Spaces bingo card,
Hmm.
and you're just going through the emotions. We're going to talk about, right? And to me, because of all the things happening in the background, right, that are actually productive,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's actually getting busier now.
Yeah. It
I'm
is
teaching with the
getting.
field school board, all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, and then this Skill India coming up, and
hmm
colleges we started. We wanted. So I've enabled Ankur to do so. He has everything he needs to
okay.
start, having conversations.
Yeah, so
Oh man. So when that start will be even busier. You fathom that?
you
Like
understand,
listening to
right?
changing the climate,
And the
listening
thing
to
is, like,
all.
th- what you forget when you get busy in operations, you get even
Uh,
busier in sales.
right.
You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? So now
And
you're like
juggling
selling
between the
and
two.
booking and delivering at the same time, right? And that's
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing. It's the thing you always wanted. But
exactly.
you know what I mean? So and it's one of those things where I was listening to the conversation yesterday, and I know where things are going. And
Mm,
if we never did another Twitter space, we would have more work to do than we ever needed. If we take care of what we're supposed to take care of,
yeah.
right?
Right.
So and we're just like, before, I'm thinking about how I interact with folks, and I'm like, am I doing it because I have a Greek complex or a Messiah complex? And I can see the Messiah complex in my head explanations of why I'm doing it. Right? It's kind of like Twitter Spaces social work, right? And it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna I, I'm gonna preserve that energy for the work that I do. You know what I mean? Here,
Yeah, it's like they just want you to open up the space and don't care whether you're
yeah,
listening or not, and
yeah.
then you sleep for 6 hours and then come back and
It's like you wake up in
hey,
the
what's
morning,
up?
you wake up, you get out of bed, and then now someone's on your fucking couch, and now you have to listen to this person. And then you're a piece of shit because you're not their psychotherapist all of a sudden, right?
Mm.
So
And someone comes in and just blasts off their emotions for no reason, no apparent context, and then goes
here's the
away.
thing. No, it doesn't go away
Uh,
because people people reinforce their egos by painting themselves in fighting positions with an opposition. And so it's really
mm,
addictive because if they're in a fight, that must mean they're important. That must mean they're fighting for a cause that's worthy. Maybe there are people, Germans at the doorstep that are trying to pull down the drawbridge to Rome, you know. And it's like, look, it's almost like I've seen all of the drama and I've seen it go around in enough circles to be like, okay, I see where this is going. We have the bingo card of Twitter Spaces topics. We have the people that come here for therapy. We have the people who actually want to get shit done. And now that we're so busy, what do we do now? Because we don't necessarily have to do this. We're really busy, right? With the stuff that we have going on. Hey, Zach.
Hola.
Hola.
Hi. Have you interacted with Matt Sherman from Seed Scout recently?
Not recently, but
Okay. I pointed UH in his direction because it was a tweet that got put out from an investor that was looking for, you know what I mean? Like triple bottom line type startups, so to speak. So hopefully there's a response out of there. I'm hoping that Seed Scout could be a place where someone like UH could find what she's looking for from a capital perspective. We'll see.
yeah, a lot of people really don't like what Matt's doing,
Uh-huh.
but I am a big fan of anyone trying to, change it for the better. I like, I don't know. Like I said, like I see a lot of similarities in what I'm trying to do and what he's trying to do. It's like coaching for startup founders, it's non-existent because it's just so damn expensive, right? Like to a startup coach is like 10 grand a month. Um, and so like I think that a lot of early stage founders are lacking the tools they need to be super efficient and effective. Like Damien the other day, like everything I was saying to him
Mm-hmm.
about like his message is disjointed because he talks about this closet coach and not the actual thing he's building. Um, like
Yeah,
that's
the kernel of the solution is the calculator. Without the calculator, we have nothing. And that
and
calculator, if it can impact returns, is a multi-billion-dollar industry.
yeah, and so just because like if I was an investor or VC
Mm-hmm.
and you even mentioned this fucking coaching thing to me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing you off
Yeah. Let me ask
because
you.
you don't seem like you have conviction in the actual idea.
So, if you were going to pitch, because I find this interesting to do, like with Dispatch Justice, we kind of toy around with remixing your projects. Like, have you ever found yourself driving while being a minority? How would you repitch what Damien has after everything you've heard? Because you've heard hours of it.
Yeah. If I was Damien and I was going to pitch investors, I would pitch solely on the idea that you have found a better way to calculate and match individuals with their proper sizes, and that you need funding to create the long-term strategic partnerships with large retail brands who are shifting to online. His entire business should just be about getting a tiny little part, like a little band on every single site that sells clothing that says fill out your measurements here for the perfect sizing. And it's like you put your camera up as you're making the size measurements, and that way it shows that they did the sizing correctly. And then once the sizing's done on one site, you have it on all sites, right? Like, and once it's done on all sites, then all you need to do is just say, hey, the last time you got measured was 6 months ago. Let's just update your measurements. So every time I want to buy something, I just update my measurements real quick. They know that the size is correct. So sizing is not one of the reasons why it's returned. And then if it's returned, it's just because it doesn't look the way I wanted it to, or it doesn't look the way it looks online. That's what I would do, is like, screw the closet coach, screw all of that stuff. I would just do that. And if you can cut returns, clothing returns for companies in half, you're adding half to their bottom line.
Their banking, I think that the companies that offer the returns, the issue is not like the money is not in the people like buying the clothes and keeping it. It's that even if they would return it, they forget, and so they end up like they benefit from the, like, it's kind of like those 30-day money back guarantee or 60-day money back guarantee, like infomercials. The likelihood of someone to actually take the trouble to return something, at least back in the day, was so low that they could offer that and then have, like, do the sell, like, get them hooked on it. As long as they get it in the door, there's going to be a very small number that actually turn around and return. I don't think that their cost for the return, I mean, and I don't know because I haven't looked at the data, but I would be curious to know, like, what the cost of the returns is to them that actually get returned.
66% of the bottom line of items sold
Are actually returned.
It's 40% of everything sold on Amazon gets returned.
Well, does that? But can you compare
Wow.
that to before, like, returned? Like, I don't know. Hold on.
Yeah, what was the previous as is? Yeah.
Yeah, well, so the thing is that Amazon's purposely making it easier to return because that's the biggest issue with Amazon, is that people return, and so they know that their customer care, right? Because their whole thing is the most customer focused company. And so they don't care that that number is so high in returns. They don't care at all, because they want to make it easy for customers to return things. When Amazon gets a return, they just palletize it and go and drop it off at a place, and they auction it all off as a Amazon
I
return
think,
pallet.
well, that may be for clothes, but they do sell their open box items.
Same. What do you mean?
I mean, things don't get palleted. They relist them for sale.
I would push back on
I
that
used to sell on
a little bit.
Amazon.
Yeah, I'm saying is that they have entire warehouses of just Amazon returns that they're selling for over 60% off of the price.
I know people that buy those pallets
Yeah,
and
I know
like
the
open
pallets
them up
exist.
and they're like, yeah,
I'm sorry.
no, it's all good. Okay. So let me ask you this: if you are if you're the clothing manufacturer, and you get a pitch from Damien that says, "Hey, you, the reason that your profit isn't as high as it could be is because of the churn in the purchasing that happens with your customers. They buy 3 jackets to keep one, and you lose all your money when they return, or you just let them have the other 2 because it's not profitable for you to take the inventory back." What would the clothing manufacturer ask of Damien to prove that he can have an impact on their returns? What would he have to have done?
Oh, I didn't know this, but if you return a higher rate than 15% in a single month, you get a warning from Amazon, and if you do it 2 months in a row, you can get removed from Amazon.
Yeah, so what would the clothing manager want to know? How would a clothing manager, I guess, implement, this sizing calculator? And maybe that's something that Damien has to figure out. Like, I really want to see how far his Shopify app is.
Yeah, it's not a supply side problem. It's a demand side problem. So it's a demand side problem on 2 fronts. It's first getting people to actually be like, oh, this is going to make sure that the clothes actually fit me right, or that it's a good fit. Second, fit is slightly and can be person to person, specific. Like some people
Uh-huh.
like it to fit a little here, right? And so if his calculator isn't taking that into account, that might be
Oh,
an issue.
yes.
The third, I think the other demand side problem is if I am online looking to buy a t-shirt and they say, hey, we're going to make sure this shirt fits just the way you want it to. And I go, okay, cool. I fill it in and they're like, yeah, this is going to take 15 minutes. I'm fudging these numbers as much as I can, right? Like, I just want to get through this. And I'm just like, I think I'm a
But
44,
they'd
right?
already have
Like,
that in that data in the user profile, right? Sorry to interrupt.
no. So that's the thing is like, the if people would go and do that and fill it out before they ever start shopping, then sure. However, what he's having to do is create 2 separate companies to try to solve that problem. So he's doing the closet coach just to try and get the user data so that he can then market this actual SaaS that he has. So that's the problem, is that he's creating 2 dilemmas for one solution. And so instead of just sitting there and thinking, how do we solve this demand side problem and not create a secondary dilemma? In essence, it's like if Amazon had worried so much about returns when they first started that they were like, oh, we need to put drop boxes everywhere and we need to, make it so that everyone can send everything back for free and, return shipping labels and all this stuff. No, Amazon went, okay, we're going to proof the model with books because it's one of the lowest returned items in the world. Because when people buy books, they tend to keep them and they don't really go, oh, it doesn't fit, it doesn't this, it's not exactly what I want, right? There's very few scenarios where people buy a book and then are like, I want to return it. And so they didn't have to figure that dilemma out until they moved into other products. And so they minimized their dilemma. So if he used it, like, let's say his app, he said this is for t-shirts only, right? He has to minimize the number of dilemmas that he's fighting. And so if he could find one item of clothing that his thing works for very well, and then can proof that it reduces the number of returns for that item, and then he can scale to other items. That's the way I would approach it, because you can't sit there and solve all the problems of all clothing with this calculator. You need to pick one item of clothing, one thing that you're going to do extremely well, attack that, and then you can scale to other items. Because, like, dispatch justice could provide the service of when I go into any store and then they are rude or start saying that you're going to get kicked out and I feel like I'm being discriminated against or something, I can hit the button, call a lawyer and be like, hey, this is what's going on. And then at least like I'm getting real time, like, hey, leave the place, whatever. Right. But that's not the first model that's easy for you to, and the first problem that's easy for you to solve and show that it works, because there's a lot of minutia in that. So he has to figure out what the first principle problem and the smallest MVP that he can put out there to solve that problem. Because the problem he's solving is people's sizes are different than what they think they are. His problem is not, oh, you have these clothes in your closet, but you're not wearing them in the right pattern and colors together. Like,
hold on. If you take this idea to its full length, then you would get those, those t-shirts that hide your belly for guys, shit like that. It'd be like,
yeah,
we understand your size so well, we're just going to make the t-shirt that's the best t-shirt on the planet because we have the best calculator.
you're adding another dilemma. He could outsource that to a number of companies that do that, which is why I'm saying, if I'm a guy and I'm going to go and order one of those t-shirts that's supposed to fit really nice in across my broad, shoulders and my rippling chest and hide this keg that I got as a belly, right? I'm going to sit there and I'm like, okay, this better fit right. Now, if I don't take the measurements right and I don't do that right, I'm going to hate it. I'm going to hate it and I'm going to return it and I'm never going to buy from that company again.
Right, but he has the measurement, like the AR/VR measurement stuff.
It's not an AR/VR.
He doesn't have the AR/VR yet.
It's literally just I'm going to wrap a thing around my arms and measure myself and then submit them myself. I
talked to him about something else. Maybe I'm confused.
Oh, this is the second problem is that every time we talk, what problem he's solving and how he's solving it is different. And so the other thing is he needs to get extremely consistent on what it is he's doing and how he's providing that solution. If every time he's talking, he's providing a new route or a new way forward, it's going to scare people away. And it's going to cause confusion, because when I talked to him, it was people take their own measurements with the tape, and then the calculator is what makes the fit better so that people actually like what they order. And so if there is an AR/VR component, again, there's so many dilemmas that he has that he just hasn't flushed out in my mind. And then he added this closet coach with other people to try and solve that problem, and so that he can get the measurements and then proof. And it's just like, no, find one company, one seller, tell them that you're going to make sure that 99% of people who buy their whatevers never return them, and get the data that shows that you reduce the return rate, even if you have to provide the service for free. Like, show that you've actually reduced the return rate by X percentage for this company since implementing it, and then go and take that to a large retailer that has 40% return rate and is losing a X number of $1 million, and say, look, like, let's do this. and then you're literally only raising the investment capital so that your back end can handle the amount of data it's going to be collecting from people using it, and number two, to cover any returns, because you make that agreement. You're not going to be looking to get profitable, you're looking to cover your downside on that. And if you can then reduce it for them, then you go and get a big investment to go and attack every retailer and say, look, like, I have a way where all of you can reduce your returns by this much on this clothing. And then you look to expand from t-shirts in men's sizes of small to extra large. And then maybe you expand to double XL, and because you're going to have to do a lot of R&D on how this calculator works for different body types and sizes based on surveys of people.
I like that. Can you restate that? Because I actually want to capture that and actually end this space as an individual episode to send to Damien. So based on everything we've said so far, I think you have it there, Zach, in terms of finding the small retailer to the large. Can you restate that one more time?
Am I getting paid my consulting fee? Damn.
Well, I'm hoping he's going to hire you, because you're actually able to articulate the way forward better than anyone I've heard so far. So can you restate it? And I'm going to send it to him and see if you guys can work together.
Okay. Hold on.
Hello, Damien. How are you? This is Zach. I'm going to change your fucking life.
I think that the way forward is to abandon the idea of closet coach as a way of gathering individual sizes, and to go to a small retailer of a singular product, say men's t-shirts, for example. You have to base this on whatever it is that your algorithm and your calculator does better than anyone else, 10x better than anyone else, and go to this company and say, I will reduce your returns by this much or more, and with this singular product in these singular sizes, so that you can proof the model in this area. Once you've proofed it with this size t-shirt at this one company, that you can say, look, we've reduced the number of returns for this one company by this much, then it's you raise money so that you can go over after a large retailer in that same garment, and say, like, again, men's t-shirts between these sizes so now you can proof that you can do it at scale. The money is so that you can build out your back end to handle the amount of data you're collecting on the number of customers. The dilemmas you'll face when you go from a small retailer to a large retailer is going to be the different body types, the different body sizes just within men for your calculator. And then the other one is how are people making their measurements? Are they taking their time? Are they doing it right? Or are they just speeding through it? So you have to then do that at scale. Once you do that, then you can use R&D funds to go and expand to other garments in other areas. I know that your calculator works in all of those, but you have to do it step by step, because that's, if you're going to raise investment capital, the investors are going to want to know what are the steps you're going to take to move up towards scale, not just we're going to do every t-shirt and everything and we're going to do all of this. Like, if you have a strategic thought process like that, it's going to come off much better. And you have to get singularly focused, not on the closet coach and the size app and these things. It's just like, come up with a singular vision of how it's going to be done and what the steps are and where you're going to go.
Did he leave anything out, guys? Gals? Theys? Thems?
I
It's.
think the difference is that, like, the problem I feel like he's solving is not the one that you're solving.
What problem do you think he's solving?
For me as a consumer, it's clothes that fit my body type, and that I can feel comfortable in, and therefore, like, be better able to, like, have self-confidence, whatever.
Yes. So that's fine. His customer is not the end consumer. The end consumer is a way for him to attract his customer, which is the companies selling the t-shirts.
Right.
Because
So, but if I'm on his site and he makes a suggestion from a retailer, and like I will take that suggestion, and then I'm purchasing it from the retailer he suggested, and he gets he gets the referral, right?
not right now, he doesn't. Like, so
Well, he should. Like, I mean, this is web one, where
yeah,
or whatever, where
yeah,
you
yeah.
click, you have banners on the side of the web page, and then click through and you get the.
What you're explaining is not venture scale, though. It won't. It's not a startup. It's just a small business with affiliate marketing, and he just has a calculator that's like, oh, I'll size you. Like, and if that's the case, then he doesn't need investment. He doesn't need all of that. He can be a regular, just small business growing through uh, this calculator.
But wasn't Google like built on affiliate marketing?
Yes, to every product in the entire world. The problem is it easier for me to go to a business and say, use this, it will reduce your returns, and then they already have, now I'm going to get all the customer data, versus me going out and getting each individual customer and saying, hey, help me, help me, help me, right? That's like you going to every person getting pulled over versus you going to the NAACP and saying, hey, we have this way of doing it. Like, that's the difference between like a venture scale like idea and not.
Overall, I like this approach to things. It reminds me of what we used to do before we got sidetracked, which is we have a startup. This is what you're going to do. If you want to work with us, you're going to work with Zach first. And once Zach gives us the go ahead, then we can introduce other folks.
I'm just looking at it as you can go and find each person individually and be like, hey, I'm going to make you feel better about yourself. And you can make a few bucks every month off of that person. I mean, how often are they buying clothes? And right, is the return there for an investor? If I get 1,000 people paying 9.99 a month, and then I'm getting another $2 each person in affiliate fees, is that scalable? Or do I go to a business and say, I'm going to cut your return? Oh, you have $150 million worth of returns this quarter. Here's an app that if you implement it, I'll cut that in half.
But
Give
it
me
can be
half of
both
that.
things too, right? Like, maybe not. I'm sorry. I'm terrible at interrupting lately, so I apologize.
It can be both. But which one's the one that an investor is going to look at and go, oh, I want that.
I think that for me as a consumer, like, I don't care, like, obviously about the reduction in revenue or whatever for the company, but I think that being the featured, hey, you need a white button up Oxford, this is the fit that you need. You should also look into getting it tailored, but here it is in 3 different price points, from Old Navy, from the Gap, and from Banana Republic, 3 different qualities, and this goes with this, and you can wear it with that's already in your closet. I think.
Yeah, but there's already 40 companies that does that. So no one.
But wait, what companies do that?
Stitch Fix does it.
Stitch Fix doesn't do that.
Stitch Fix makes total recommendations based on my size and what I like and what
But
I
not
want.
what's already in your closet, and it doesn't do it based on like it doesn't do the sizing.
So now we're talking about a back end that needs to take into account everything that I have. And
which is game changing, especially with AI. I wish so. I have an idea for a start.
It's not game changing with AI. That's just a database algorithm. It's not AI. I mean,
it is a database algorithm. But I'm sorry, but AI could be used to actually do the calculation in a way that, or not calculation, but like run that in a way that it couldn't before, because you'd have to rely on somebody who says, oh, this matches this and this doesn't match that.
I think that there's, again, it's great for a consumer. It's no investor is going to care at that point.
But so do you? I don't know. Maybe it's like to me, I like the idea, and because I had a similar idea without the calculator portion of it, like without the sizing involved. Like I called it my roommate's closet, um, and it was the first time I like looked into a business, like starting a business, and it was based on the items in your closet, and then you enter the RN number for everything that you've got, whether it be like a one-off, like a regular T-shirt or jeans, whatever, and then you could say what matches this, like put together an outfit for me, and then it would suggest like accessories that you could buy or like different shirts, whatever that you could buy that match that when you're trying to figure out what to wear when you're going out. And the deal would be that it's funding, but featuring those companies' products on the site was part of the monetization. But so having like coming from that place, like what he's doing in the way that I think consumer facing actually is a good. I think it would sell. I would pay more for that than I would for Stitch Fix, which is a shot in the fucking dark.
So just from a search of companies that take my closet and give me style advice, Outfit Formulas, Thread Beast, Style Book, 40 Plus Style, Dress Me app, Vodafone. I'm just saying is that the consumer, like that consumer end of it is, I think, sure, it's a problem and it's cool. But I think that the bigger problem and the more profitable problem is companies not wanting so many returns. And if he has a calculator that calculates sizes better, then proof that model. Don't I I think this is the issue is that I have not heard that the problem he's fixing is the style with what your closet has. It's that you get a better sizing of what you have. And so if that's the case and it's better sizing, then I think it's going the business route. If all it is just like, oh, this pair of shoes goes with this pair of shirts and you should buy this shirt because you'll get it'll look good with this outfit, or it'll look better, or it'll fit you better, then sure, go the consumer route. I think that's just a very long road. And again, I don't think it'll be venture scale quick enough. And I think the other one would. But it's just an opinion of where the true value is, because he's done two different things. Is he has Size Wise, which is a startup, and then he has the Closet Coach, which is just a platform that he created for style coaches. So what's the one he actually wants to do? When I talked to him, he said Closet Coach was just something he built so that he could get sizes and show that Size Wise worked. Then why is that the only thing you're talking about? Is it Size Wise or Closet Coach that you want to build?
Yeah, what I found when I talked to Damien and I introduced him to some folks was that he was fundamentally looking at, what do I do next? Where should I focus next? Who should I hire next? Right? And being able to crystallize the options and how they can reach their goal, is that clarity of thought, right? And how that clarity of thought gets crystallized into a plan and into an action. Um, in general, I find even with myself, like I might be quick to give advice, but I'm not necessarily that person who wants to handhold you through this process. Nor do I think I'd be necessarily good at it. I can be somebody informed or consulted upon on the idea, maybe, right? But I really, and it's not to gas Zach up, but like I've seen Zach work And of all the people that I've had do business with people in the syndicate, I haven't got a single complaint from anyone that's used Zach. And so I think back at, what we do, which is, we meet people, we meet founders, we meet startups, and then what do? We evaluate them, and then, okay, so what do you need next? And Zach was kind of that first line of defense to make sure that the other people like UX and dev and investors weren't wasting their time or money. Because I'm betting that if Damien worked with Zach, that after 2 months, he would be further ahead than one, if he was alone, and two, if he went with another coach.
I
Because he
agree
typically
with
does.
that 100%. I'm just trying to I guess give the perspective
Oh,
of somebody that wants what I would be a
yeah.
good.
No, I appreciate the pushback. I usually am very customer focused. I just think who the customer is two different things for closet coach and then size wise. Because of the ability for size wise to be adopted at scale quicker versus closet coach would just be a slow grind where you're worrying about churn numbers, you're worrying about um, other pieces of building a company that he wouldn't need to worry about with size wise. Just
So would he sell the calculator to the people? Is that, I mean, that's where I think maybe I'm
so
with.
envision this. Okay, you go to Win the Wars site and you go to, oh man, I really want to buy a t-shirt that Zach's got. You click on the t-shirt and then there's a little button that just says make sure it fits perfectly, push this button to
Okay,
get your
that
sizes.
I got you. That's
Then
cool.
it says
So it's a widget.
a little window pops up with the size wise platform. I fill out the stuff and it goes, this is the shirt you should buy. Cool. Now I order that, and then when I get it, it fits perfectly. Or his calculator doesn't work, it doesn't fit right, and I return it. And then that's the question of what's the business model? Does he cover?
Wait, so it could be both though. So the consumer could have an account so that whenever they go to a site, a retailer, they
Mm-hmm.
can automatically have their stuff in there, so you're not
Yeah.
having to worry about.
So once I do it once, and when I go to another, so what I'm saying is once I do it once at scale, when I go to another website, it says you're already sized and this is perfect for you because it's
I
already been
kind
done.
Yeah, I kind of think that that's what. Then we're saying kind of the same thing, but you'd have to. Yeah, yes, that.
Yeah, I'm
Imagine like a
saying is that
sovereign ID that
with
had your measurements that you could take around like a passport to get fitted faster.
Yeah,
yes,
that'd be good.
what his idea of creating a platform, Closet Coach, to just go and slow churn people to get their sizes is harder than for him to pick one item of clothing, attack that one problem online, proof that it works, and then get a whole bunch of companies to put it out saying, "Hey, if you use this, it's going to fit really, really well, and your return in it, and it's a guarantee. If it doesn't fit perfectly, send it back." Right, and then now he's gathering all that data without him having to go out and set up coaching consultations and doing churn rates on customers. He can just say, look, like people are using it and it works at reducing returns. Put this on your platform and it's going to help. Um, there's a, I said it the other day, is there was a company that went on Shark Tank that would measure your foot using an iPad, and Zappos rolled it out on their website that if you have an iPad and you measure your foot, the fit's guaranteed. And the company was making millions of dollars based on fractional reports of every sale on Zappos because everyone was using this foot fitter thing. And so Zappos did it because the rate of returns for Zappos shoes went down. And so that's my thought process is, yes, he can always roll it out as a separate thing later on. The question is, what's the way of rolling out this software at to a market that's going to say, look at what I've done, give me money so I can do it on a larger scale. And I think just if you're solving the whole like, hey, you have style here, like once he has everyone's data, now it's easy for him, and he has everyone's email and he has everyone's data. It's as easy as sending, hey, you were measured, sign up for this platform, input your clothing, and now he can recommend clothing from other sites that's already there. That's like, boom, this all goes with your closet. This goes with this. Like now he can scale on the consumer side as much as he scaled on the business side. I just think it's which problem is easier to solve with technology.
It's almost like I'd rather see him spend his time and fail at addressing that concern than succeed at doing the hand-to-hand fittings. Not to say that it's either or, but
Yeah, I just think it's I think it's a much larger market. It's quicker. It's venture scalable. And then once he's done that, if he's still interested in the problem of solving style and one-on-one fitment of your already acquired closet, that's a different problem to solve. It's so that's when I talked to him and he said that he just made Closet Coach so that he could get the measurements to prove size wise to a company to put it on their site, I was like, well, maybe this is the way to do it instead. So
Mike, you mentioned that we got derailed earlier. Whatever do you mean?
oh, is there something else got derailed now? This was good.
I have a weird question. So I am thinking about building a circle community for $75 a pop monthly. I have had a large number of individuals come who want mindset, the thought process through business, the vetting of ideas. How do they do branding? How do they do XYZ? But they can't afford like the full fee. I mean, I have a kid who I just was like, hey, look, I'm going to do this for $50. Like, so he's a client just for $50, just because he's like 19 years old. I'm not going to charge some 19-year-old kid who doesn't actually have a business. He got roped into the whole like scammy e-commerce thing. And I was like, all right, well, you've already spent so much money. Let me see if I can help you with that. But what I've realized is there's a whole group of individuals that have fallen for this, like coaching people on how to coach people on how to coach people. And they're not actually like, they're trying to put something forth to consumers and it's not working because the actual education on how to do branding and how to market and how to do all these things are not there. I'm just wondering if that's like bringing in syndicate members to just be like, hey, look, like just give a talk like on this one specific thing, like not saying you'd have to, it's as legal advice, you'd come in and like E-Rich, you'd come in and go, I just want to give everyone like things to worry about legally as contracts. This is not legal advice. This is just what I would do in going forward. Is that possible?
I was thinking about doing it for my music students, to be honest with you. I've taught probably 30 to 50 teachers in the past week. I have another gig tomorrow with another school, and they're all asking me questions about this, that, and the other. And I was like, huh. So we have a little community of practice here that all want to do the same thing. Help kids get better marks in school.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm looking at it as just doing like remember how we were like, let's just create the anti-taint?
Mm-hmm.
You know, he is $55 a month. If I get someone to join Hustlers University, I get $25 one time for that sale. Well, why can't I get that $5 in perpetuity? Like,
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking of. Okay, so I can either, because the curriculum is always living. Does it make sense? No matter what book
yeah,
you write, I don't care how many words, the curriculum is never dead. It's always changing, moving, evolving. And they want access to those changes, even though they want to buy the book. And that's one of the questions I had is like, I know you're adding things to this, blah, blah, blah. Is this online somewhere? That's what they asked me. Is this online somewhere? I'm like, you know what? Talk to professors, and we'll make sure we get this online. But I'm thinking about the same route, which is I have people, they have a specific interest, and instead of them just learning from me, how do they learn from me and learn from each other? And if I don't implement that phase, then it can't scale.
well, and then how I think it's also how do they learn from your network, right? So I
Yeah.
got invited to go and talk at the for funny enough. So Ty Lopez's team reached out and I went and talked to 650 of the entrepreneurs that fell into like Ty Lopez's little
Was that
um
with Jake?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, Jake was not the one who got me in. I'm assuming Jake was the one who recommended, and then a whole other team reached out to me because Jake left the team with Ty. Um, because, well, I don't know if anyone's seen, but Ty Lopez is like potentially filing for bankruptcy, and it's like this whole big thing about how it may have all just been a big scam. Oh, who would have thought? Um, but I went in and I talked, and I gave my talk on like 3 things you can do daily as an entrepreneur to attack your goals better, blah, 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 blah. And the comments in it was like, this is the best talk we've had this entire time. I've learned so much more in this one talk than I have. And people were just like, this was like a TED talk. And I realized that individuals building some of these communities and having some of these speakers, it's like people are joining and paying the X amount a month because they want a community focused around the same thing. But then you join and you make $10 off of a person joining, and then you make it once and then it never ends up happening again. Like, if we can make it where these people are like, the community lives and breathes and strives by keeping the community living and breathing and striving, you wouldn't have all these groups that are sitting there going like, well, I'm not going to really participate because I got paid my one time a month. I'm not going to talk to that person. Like, you're getting paid in perpetuity off of these things, right? For people being in the community, then you're essentially tying the your financial incentive to your ability to keep the community profitable. It's just a thought idea. I don't know. I know it's a giant pyramid scheme, but it's a pyramid scheme by keeping individuals together and connected in a world where we're not together or connected. I don't know. Most of these like things you only get paid if like once the person's there. Like, I just want to make it so that you're just getting paid as long as they stay there. So you're incentivized to reach out and connect and talk on a daily, weekly, monthly basis with these individuals that you brought in.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of you just saying, all right, you're in, I got paid, now I'm never going to talk to you.
Now, yeah, when you meet, like, for example, you meet with 600 people at this event. Let's say 25 of them want to stay in contact. Where do they go? Right? And how do you multiply the advice that you give any one person? Because what happens when I have 500 teachers or 100 teachers, right? I don't want me to be a bottleneck on people getting what they want from the community because they have to go through me physically or email-y or DM-ly.
Yeah, and I don't want it to be like a So like if you go to Hustlers University, like when Andrew Tate does like a video in there, it's like the Messiah has arrived. Whereas, you know, all the people teaching in the course, they say are all millionaires in each one of the rooms. But like, man, so I joined and I went through, it took me 48 hours to go through every single course and everything that they teach. Boy, is it not fully flushed out. It is bad. Like the information is not there and the help is not there. But 80,000 people signed up. 80,000 people doing it every month. They're just paying. It's like the education's not there. It's like, how do we change that? How do we keep the community going? How do we keep people engaged in the community and provide a decent understanding of the fundamentals of business? Because most of these people aren't understanding even just the idea of how to like ideate or iterate.
Also, the way to make money on the Tate platform was to promote Andrew Tate and remix his videos and make a YouTube channel, right? So, yeah, I think if anything, the whole Andrew Tate experience shows us that there is demand that is yet to be adequately serviced.
Yeah, I mean, I heard this thing the other day and I stole it as something I really think is interesting is how many days is a million seconds? So it's 11 days. How many days is a billion seconds?
30 years.
It's 31 years. So like about if you were to contact every person in the world for a second, it would take you 2 lifetimes, if not more, to do it, which means that the demand will always be there for the connection of individuals because there's never enough time for you to connect, right? And so the issue is not the whole Andrew Tate platform is these kids talking to each other in this platform about his ideas and he's making the money off of it. And I'm just like, why you're if you just paid everyone in perpetuity like $10, a lot of these kids would have full-time jobs just off of this platform and this community talking to each other. And so like it's I don't want to say it's a cult idea, but it's like you can create this ravenous fan because they want to continue to talk to each other. If I was getting paid $25 a month to talk to everyone in the syndicate, right? If everyone in the syndicate paid $75 and I got paid for $25 for each one that I brought in, I'd be sending DMs every time I got into the syndicate to all the people being like, hey, get in here. Let's talk. Like, hey, how's you doing? Like we're hosting a space. Where are you at?
Look, Circle has a 14-day trial. I just messaged the teacher. I think this is something that I'm going to do. I read an article somewhere about how
the $100 system on Circle is actually really good.
I read an article. I gotta find the guy who wrote it. He has a whole Substack on community building, but he talks about like when you think about things scaling. You know, it starts with one person talking to one person, and then that one person is teaching maybe 25 to 100. But to really scale things, the teacher can't be the only one teaching things. The community has to start teaching itself, and that's where the power and the scale comes from. So as you're talking, I'm really taking it to heart. You know, we have an audience that has needs, and we can't be up 24/7 with a Twitter space. So what do they do when they can't reach us?
Yeah, I think he's proven something about community and its profitability, but I think that there's a way to do it. I just don't know the legal ramifications, right? Like
Well,
there has to be a certain amount of value provided that makes it go from pyramid scheme to MLM, and then the difference between MLM and business, like what is that, right? Like, do you?
Not much if you look at the sales compensation plans of software account executives, but yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just interested in that because if you can turn every customer into your biggest advertiser,
Mm-hmm.
but also as your community managers, and then also your content creators, and also, right, like there's a
Yep.
way, and essentially we're just describing every NFT project, but where's the utility in it, right? And the utility has to come from whatever it is we're teaching and organizing. So I said
Every
the
great
other
startup is an NFT project with utility.
I said the other day, it's like if I the first any startup that comes to win the war and is working on solving global warming, it doesn't pay for services. Like that's my commitment, is because if there is a startup that needs coaching and is trying to solve global
I have
warming.
someone for that. How do you feel about small modular nuclear reactors? Is that green?
Why did I feel like I knew you were going to go that way?
Yeah, I know that guy. Yeah,
I,
Hungarian Martians.
yeah, I'm just like, I don't know. I've been stuck on this, especially with some of Tate's most recent comments, and I'm just sitting here being like, they not that they need everyone needs someone to look up to, and I don't want to be Messiah, and I don't want to be the face of it. If I can just be a side instructor and find somebody else to be the face of it, I'm more than happy with that. It's just,
You could be the face to the inner community, right?
yeah, like if I could get an actor to just be the person who does all the like wackadoo things that everyone listens to, and I'm the one writing the scripts, and right, like I've told everyone,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't want to be a king, I want to be a king maker.
Larry
You
Now,
don't
David
need you don't
didn't.
need an actor. Just do a deep fake with a voiceover.
It's true. It's true. I mean, Larry David didn't really appear that much on Seinfeld, but he wrote all the jokes. Still his show.
yeah, and that's my thing is um like where I want to be when I get in front of the camera. It's when I run for office one day. But I want to behind the scenes build a lot of things. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry I didn't say this earlier. Happy International Women's Day. I wanted to say that when I got on Twitter and tweet it, but I got on Twitter and got distracted instead, and I apologize.
That's today.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Hey, Ali.
Yes, my love.
Happy International Asian Women's Day.
Is that what today is?
No, without the Asian, but I added it to localize it.
Oh, okay. But it's International Women's Day today?
Yes, apparently.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. How do you feel?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
What am I supposed to feel?
It's your day. You get to choose.
Oh, I choose to feel great.
Amazing.
Huh.
It's a great day for you then.
Thank you.
Amazing. Hold on, wouldn't Damien fall under the environmental thing?
I mean, that is
Right?
a part of the global warming crisis, is the amount of shit of clothes that we just throw in the fucking dump, which pisses me off so much.
I wonder what the data on that is. Like, of every 100 pieces of clothing made, how much ends up in a dump, never worn?
%85 of our clothes end up in landfills or burned by the end of the year. Furthermore, it is estimated that the average American throws away around 37 kilograms or 81 pounds of clothes every year.
Something like extra bad about like throwing away denim because of all the ink in there.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to throw the jeans away.
Huh. You're saying the landfill is actually a gene pool?
Stop it.
That was funny.
Don't encourage him. Don't do it.
In America alone, it is, hold on, 92. Oh, wait, of the 100 billion garments produced each year, 92 million tons end up in a landfill. To put things in perspective, this means that the equivalent of an entire trash truck full of clothes ends up on a landfill site every second. If this trend continues, the number of fast fashion waste is expected to soar up to 134 million tons a year by the end of the decade.
Wait a minute. What if every time you put in your measurements and bought clothing with size-wise, you got a small ESG credit?
What if you wait? So the clothes, let's say I have a bag full of clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of me, where could I just send it? Like, imagine if I just put a stamp on that bag and just sent it to this company, and then it found all the different ways. Like, the company's entire thing is to find all the ways to wash, repurpose, and this is a lot of scraps from the manufacturers. The fashion industry is responsible for 20% of all global wastewater.
Wow. 20% of wastewater.
$500 billion is lost each year because of underwearing or failure to recycle clothes.
Interesting. I wonder if through the work that they do with size-wise, they might end up showing the client that, that 80% that you're not wearing?
Yeah.
What if you convince them to purge that for the environment?
2.6 million tons of returned clothes ends up in the landfill in 2020 alone.
Yeah, so it's like I wonder what the equivalent is in like plastics or like oil spills and shit like that. It's almost like the consumer oil spill is clothing.
16 million tons of CO2 emissions were created by online returns in 2020 alone.
So let's go after the ESG credit just as
That's
a backup.
the equivalent of 3.5 million cars on the road.
Jeez, dude.
Fast fashion brands are producing twice the amount of clothes today than they were in 2000.
He mentioned that actually when the first time I met him was the environmental impact and the reduction that size-wise could have. So.
Yo, you could call yourself a green clothing retailer.
I'm looking at here's earth.org has what can I do about it? So personal level, join a community. Man. Okay, so it just says on a personal level, join a community. It doesn't say anything about where to recycle your clothes, where to send them so that they get properly like disposed of or reused. Man, is there a company that's like sends all scrap clothing? Like, and then finds all the other ways of using it? Like, all fast fashion, just send to me and I will then take all of that and do things with it. What those things are is indiscriminate at this point.
Here, look, I have some nonprofits that would have homes for all of that clothing. It's good. It almost reminds me of what we used to do together. It's good to have you back, Zach. And now to interrupt all of that, hey, Alaskoshi. complete. Unless, Zach, he spoke to Damien directly. Da-na! Startup intervention with Zach.
Damien already knows, because I said it the other day. The same thing I said earlier is like, this is what I would do, and right now I'm looking at companies solving this problem, and I haven't found any that are solving it at scale.
You're listening to the Syndicate. What should Closet Coach do next? We want to welcome Damien, the founder of Closet Coach. Zach, Damien has been listening for a little bit. Can you indulge us one more time and crystallize what you thought the way forward was and what you thought the target market should be now that Damien is here and reconnecting, I guess?
Sorry, I'm in the middle of reading this article.
No, it's okay. He's reconnecting. One sec. Oh, you're back. Hey, Damien.
But that I'm having some audio issue. Whenever I come up to speak, my volume drops like 80% and I cannot turn it up.
It's okay. So Zach had some ideas after, marinating, digesting, and otherwise circling the wagons, we would say, about the idea. Zach, would you mind crystallizing everything you've said over the past 2 hours for Damien? And by the way, Damien, do you know what Zach does besides being in the military?
I know we just met recently.
Zach coaches startup founders to make sure that they stay on track using principles from the military.
Awesome. I did not know that. We should get more acquainted, Zach.
I am now more than ever sitting here looking at this giant issue of all of the clothing ending up in the landfill and the amount coming from returns. And I'm more now than ever thinking that, as I said last time, is that if I was you and I had all the power, I'd pick a singular item that has the most returns. Is it men's t-shirt? Is it women's t-shirts? Is it women's dresses? Is it, whatever that may be? What item has the highest return rate? And then find a local online, mediums to small size retailer and just say, look, like if you implement this one little click button where people go and size themselves on your website, it'll cut your returns of this item by this amount. And so while it won't be on any of the other purchase pages, it's on that one page, or at least just put a little link to go do this, and then it makes the recommendation of what size someone should wear, or if they should even be buying that product. Maybe that product will never fit them correctly. And then once you've proof that you can reduce the return rate of that item at that one online retailer, then you can go and scale that one item at many retailers so that you can prove that you can do it at scale. And then once you can do that one problem very well at scale, then you can move over to other, I wouldn't say smaller, but less likely to be returned item and reduce the returns of all items to reduce the 2.9 million tons of returns that end up in the landfill. So you have a social play, but you also have this very capitalistic play of increasing the bottom line. And then you make money off of, if their return rate costs them $10 million, you go, okay, well, if I cut your returns in half, or I cut your, how many people say it didn't fit right as a reason for return. You find that one item and you say, I'll cut that by 80%, and I want 20% of what you would have spent on returns, as payment. And then that's what I would do. And then as you grow in scale and you've collected measurements from all of these different online retailers in different areas, and you've collected everyone's email, you now have a big long email list from Sizewise that everyone thinks is just a size so that they know that you can fit this really well. But now you send them an email and say, hey, by the way, if you register everything you have in your closet, Sizewise in partnership with Closet Coach, one day down the road, you can say, like, also we'll make recommendations of what you should buy and what will fit you perfectly and all these things. But you have to get very, very specific about which problem you're solving, because Erich and I both are we were having a conversation of, is the problem you're solving the incorrect sizes, which causes people to have returns, which adds to the landfills and all that stuff and costs companies money? Or are you solving the problem of, I have all this stuff in my closet, I don't know if it actually fits me right, and or does it look good, and what are the other recommended things? One, I think, is a more difficult model than the other, but either one of them could be profitable. I just think that size and scale is different, but Erich may have a different interpretation or take on this. When these measurements, Damien, is it done through like an AR VR, or is it done by hand? Do I need to have a specific like type of measuring device in my home to be able to do it, or how does that work?
Yeah, the only measuring device you need is a good old trusty tape measure. That's it. So the entry in for anyone should be simple. That was a part of the mission in the beginning, not too technical, because one of the things that I've heard from customers is the AR VR stuff, although it's good and some of them are close to accurate. There are some technical hurdles for the population that face some of these issues. And there's also some safety concerns too about taking an image half naked or in spandex to get accuracy. So with those concerns, we're leaving out a huge population. So having someone either go to their local tailor, seamstress, Men's Warehouse, Macy's, capture their measurement and keep it is what we promote, or just taking a session with one of our coaches and learning how to do it yourself.
I think the hardest problem that you're going to have to solve on the demand side for this is going to be that most people, I don't think very many people who are buying clothes online are going, let me go and do this so that I can do that.
You're absolutely right. They're not.
In moment purchases, which I think is, if you had like hey, take a picture of my neck and the AR VR can figure out what my sizing is, that would be different. So, okay. I guess that's
No,
why.
So go ahead.
No, it's so difficult because I see what you're doing with the Closet Coach is the way it's let me be frank, it's more of an educational platform to say, hey, this is what's available. This is what you do if you want to look your best and feel your best and do XYZ. And really, the Sizewise is the calculator that's scalable, but doing one without the other is difficult because there is a huge gap in the information of, how do you go to a tailor? How do you measure yourself? Do you have a tape measure at your house? And you have to get the info first, because you can't do it in real time. If I click on a button on the website to make sure that I'm the right size and fit for that, it's very difficult for me to tape measure myself and put the things on there, which is part of the problem.
So you're absolutely right, and it is meant to be an educational platform. I just want to address some of the things you said earlier. The decision to go into the closet coach direction was strictly a survival mode. Like, I had to pull my MacGyver toolkit out to make this decision, but it was the quickest way to get people to understand what it was and get capital into the startup. To just have people pay for the service, try the service. What you were saying on the opposite end of it, the B2B approach, is going directly to boutiques and brands. And a part of that is our mission. I've mentioned the Chrome extension before, and I'm actively looking for brands to participate in using our Chrome extension. And it's as easy, well, for now, it's only Shopify stores. So we're using this plugin for any Shopify collection online to use our plugin with the size calculator and their clients to match products that fit their clients. And I haven't gotten any traction on that. Again, it's an appearance thing. It's still small. There's not enough size. I mean, I've been getting a lot of feedback. I've spoken to some VCs and some angels, and they're all looking at the numbers, and for good reason. So I'm kind of in that sweet spot where I still have work to do before I can start having those conversations, and simultaneously running a B2B and a B2C project.
Have you talked to Indochino?
No. Who is that?
Indochino is it's an online made to measure suit company where you already have the individuals solving a couple of your dilemmas for you. And so I can get they're not bespoke, right? They're made to measure suits that are fully customizable. So I can customize the aligning, I can customize what material I want, how long do I want, how much cuff do I want out? Is it a suit made to wear with French cuffs or regular cuffs? And so the people who use this website, they have an in-depth education of how to get measured on the site. And so if you partnered with Indochino, you would already have this company solving one of your hardest problems of how do I get people to measure themselves? And now you have it in your group. And what you could say to Indochino is, hey, look, like, one, I'm going to reduce the number of returns because the company has a 35% return rate based on size. And I'm going to assume it's based on sizing. And then the additional part is that you're going to say to Indochino, hey, I'll also increase the number of sales because I'll be recommending this shirt based on people's, closet and what they ordered previously. And we're building this, information database of what the buyer has and what they bought and how to fill out the rest of their closet. It's just an idea because I'm looking at companies that solve one of those, the three main problems really the dilemmas that you have at scale is, how do you get people to measure themselves either before or during? And then how do you get them to really understand the dilemma of returns are cash killers? And then the last one is more closet coach focused, but just on size wise itself is, I'm just thinking of these some of these online companies that already fill the education gap of step-by-step videos on how to measure yourself, because once you have the measurements, you're solving the return problem.
Right. And there are some other startups out there that I've been following as well that they're in the space of acquiring accurate measurements. One of them, what they do is make a bodysuit with a lot of dots on them. So you can get this spandex-like suit. And what the dot allows you to do is get more accurate with the measurements. And because everyone has different shapes and folds, like those were the things that are needed in order to get a suit that fit well or a shirt that hangs off your shoulders well. The previous methods fell short of that, and I think this startup, their approach is a little bit more different and sophisticated. uh, I'm looking to partner with them as well. Like size wise, think about size wise as Intel Inside. You know how in the 90s, like all Windows machine had that little sticker on the laptop that says Intel Inside? Everyone wanted those computers because they know that it was the fastest, best chip. Size-wise is meant to be that Intel. We should be able to plug into any system and help people with this singular problem just by maintaining one size profile.
Elizabeth?
Hey, sorry, I'm probably going to drop the listener because I'm doing work now, but I guess I misunderstood about the way that you were doing the measuring because I, for some reason, thought it was, but I may have put this into, but I thought there might be an AR VR type of thing for it.
Yeah, no AR, no VR. It's just an interface that allows you to manually enter your sizes in. So you measure yourself or you capture the measurement from your favorite garment by investigating the size chart, have a friend measure you, go to Men's Warehouse if you want to, but we're giving people a place to capture their sizes and use that information for good. So those sizes with the tech that we're building will allow you to think about it like a Google search for sizes. If I'm looking for a dress shirt, I know my next size is 15 and a half. That's where I always start looking. So with size wise, what you can do is just enter your next size. If that's the only size you know, start there. If you pick up on your bust or inseam later, you add it to the profile. But keeping it in a repository or one place where you're putting your sizes to work is the vision.
Yeah, make sure you guys get connected, Damien and Zach. Have a conversation. I don't think, Damien, you'd mind. You know, we had a conversation with Rock and Mia, and that was great. So I think we have, no matter what you want to do, we have the right people. It's just we have to put them in order. You know what I mean? Don't
No,
attack before you decide the target kind of thing.
I get it, and it's making sense, and I appreciate all the questions and you guys like sharing the space and giving me this much time to kind of battle test some of these ideas because the same questions you're asking is the same questions I've been asking for the last 7 years building this thing. Like the size issue isn't new and it isn't small. It started in World War II when we started making uniforms for soldiers. Before that, there was a tailor in every house in every neighborhood, so we didn't have to worry about small, medium, and large. So yeah, they did this whole thing. They got a handful of people, and most of them were Caucasian. And what happened was they created a system that was universal in the beginning, but it didn't help everyone. And it started breaking down. That the universal system they got rid of eventually, and then brands just started making their own standards. And this is where we start seeing the disparity between brands. And a big part of that is just people playing to their own community, their own audiences. So the top that you might like from one particular brand, if it doesn't fit you, it's probably because they didn't make it for you. Like some brands advertise who they're selling for, big and tall, petite, traditional. Like these things are designed for a specific cohort. And a lot of people don't know this. So what we're saying is, yeah, let's create a community, a space where the conversation starts with you. You're automatically going to filter out the brands that you're not supposed to look at. Stop wasting time looking at a brand that will not make clothing for you. Or the reverse of that could be, and this is the one I'm hoping for, if size wise get, let's say, 100,000 men or women with a particular shape that's similar, we can go to any brand and say these people love what you do. Can you make 100,000 people athleisure wear? And I think that's going to be an easier sell for brands. Instead of making 1 million pieces and only selling 20%, why not make 100% of products and sell them to people that are waiting for them? So that's the concept, is just switching the narrative and have brands make products for people and not the other way around, like us trying to fit into these things that weren't made for us.
All right, wicked. So that was the Syndicate. What should Closet Coach do next special, featuring the founder Damien and Zach? How should he move forward? What is the best way to allocate the resources he has for a large enough problem? You know, sure, you can serve the consumer market, and there is demand for that. But the larger market, you know, and tapping into ESGs by reducing clothing waste to landfill, I think is a problem worth failing at, let alone solving.
Yeah, and I think that if you go over that after that larger market, you're able to then close the loop on the consumer, problem that you want to solve with smaller companies. More, one-offs and made for you kind of things by solving the larger one, because then you'll be able to cash flow the smaller, not smaller, but I think that's a more difficult problem that comes with other dilemmas. So I think looking into listing the problems that you've figured out, right? So one problem that you've definitely figured out is that getting people to measure in at the time of purchase is probably the hard one, right? Having them go and measure beforehand and educating them to go and get measured before you go and buy any clothes is a way, but it's probably not the one most people are going to use. So how do you solve the getting people measured at the point of purchase? There are companies like Indochino and some others that solve that problem for you. And so I think listing all of your dilemmas and then seeing if there's already solutions. So looking at it just as if another startup would is, I'm not going to go and make a payment processing just because payment processing is a problem. I'm going to go and get Stripe. Now, when I scale and get large enough, then I'm going to build a payment processing, because paying them a certain, this percentage of it doesn't make sense once you get so big. So there's that process of who's solving some of your pain points so that you can provide the solution that you want to without having to also solve those pain points. That's what I would do as next steps, is just get a whole list of all your pain points, all your problems, all the things that are preventing you from like running really fast, and then try and figure out who solved those pain points and how, and if there is a way for you to capitalize on that.
I appreciate that, and I think that's a smart approach. One of the things that I've been testing is just identifying smaller groups. And in the next 30 days or less, I have two initiatives, and that's real estate agents and underserved kids. Although the platform wasn't initially designed for it, it makes sense. And the offer came through this foundation in Florida. And what they do is they host this annual thing where they bring in kids from foster homes that need help transitioning into the real world, writing resumes, how to look good in professional context. And they invited the closet coach to help tutor them and into learning their inseam and their body type and how to get dressed. So we're going to facilitate 50 to 80 kids. And I think that resonates with me, especially the story that I tell with my grandmother. Like, this is where it started. So, if we can get kids to start looking at who they are and building their personal brand soon, and knowing that how I dress and how I show up is a part of the narrative, I think that's huge and it's important. And the agents, the real estate agents, like, they're in front of their clients all day selling 100,000 to $1 million homes. Like, being professional and showing up for the job is a part of that career field. So I think trying to get into these pockets and get their feedback is also helpful. And I'm not saying that the B2B side isn't the best course of action. It's just that in my experience so far, I'm not getting traction with speaking to who I need to speak to. So
Yeah,
my access,
you gotta figure out a way to survive till you can get the right network to do the
absolutely,
yeah.
exactly. So yeah, my access is people. So it's closet coach until I can get to where I need to go.
Yeah. One thing you might want to look into, and I can see if I can get you a phone number, is the U.S. military transition assistance program, because most military members have been wearing a single uniform their entire career, and then as they're transitioning and going to job interviews, they've never had a suit or anything to interview in. There's a organization that just provides old hand-me-down suits to veterans. You can go and like use them for interviews, but there's nothing currently for veterans in that transition program to say.
All right, good stuff, guys. I gotta take a call. Go ahead, Alice Koshi.
Okay, fine. I won't read my script there in the bottom right. Um, One of the voices I was hearing, I was just real quick. Uh, was it you take pictures with the camera on your phone to do the measurement thing, Damien?
No, we don't. It's a manual input thing. The only picture that we ask for is when you take the style quiz. We just get a reference of your frame so we can make a better assessment. But yeah, the size calculator is just you putting in numbers that you've measured.
So like use it like a tape measure, one of those tape measure things, and then put the numbers in.
Absolutely. And we help with that.
Awesome. And then okay, I think Zach's suggestion was obviously the better. But I was just thinking along. Okay, first of all, I would go with the like everything all at once. I think it's a movie or book or something approach. Probably not good advice, but and then I was thinking like a total degen move is with this. You know, maybe people don't want to measure themselves when they buy the clothes. So I think we talked a little bit about the NFT stuff and like the metaverse. Maybe have a thing where they use the closet coach measurement thing, but you know, don't have it be called closet coach. Do like measurements for your avatar to be your size, and then have clothes that are like an NFT or whatever, in and is like their favorite outfit in the metaverse, and then sell them those clothes via closet coach or something with a more degening name.
I would love that. I mean, I think that's a great idea. However, I think the positioning of going in that direction will require another shift. And because there's already a hurdle of measuring yourself, then the hurdle of Web3 and finding that audience, I think is going to be another kind of anchor to the progress that we're trying to make. but it's definitely a part of what we've been thinking about. And the idea of NFTs in garments is something that we've explored, where the near future of Sizewise is to open up a space almost like Etsy for tailors and seamstresses. And the pieces that they make custom to you will be embedded on the blockchain. So you can have a certificate with an NFT of the product that you've purchased. So making that more tangible and having a digital version of the original is one of the plans in the roadmap.
Or maybe even have it go to where, that's like like just something made up in the metaverse, like those giant red shoes, and then have the tailors recreate it. I don't know. Um, Anyhow, thanks, guys.
Thanks for the feedback.
Good job, guys. Got to jump to a call. Damien, reach out to Zach. I think you guys are on the same page.
Thank you, guys. Thanks again, Max, for hosting.